So some people have asked me about my interest in treasure hunts and alternate reality games and these other things, knowing that my background is actually primarily as an educator, as a leader of educational institutions, as a instructional designer, a teacher, and a curriculum developer, program developer. I'm fascinated with learning in and out of school settings and a lot of settings. And one of the reasons I became interested in it was because the principles, the concepts that are tied into alternate reality games and treasure hunts fit very well with how I believe that we were designed to learn. And it fits very well. We are people who do well with novelty and wonder and mystery, and these are components of good learning opportunities and learning experiences in and out of school. And so let me share a way that I take some of these principles of treasure hunting and I apply it to cultivating certain virtues and practices that I think maybe I could use a little bit more of in my life. And I'm going to do a series of these. I'll call them quests probably, or maybe I'll make up a different name down the road, but you call them life experiments or quests. In fact, I even have a little book called 12 Quests that outlines some of these that I've played around with in the past. And let's do one today called the Gratitude Quest. So here's how it goes. I'll start with a little bit of story and background. A.J. Jacobs, he wrote a book called Thanks 1,000 a number of years ago, and I'm going to paraphrase a story from the book, but he tells the story of how he was engaging in this practice of gratitude with his family, and they'd sit down at the table, and he would he would express thanks for all of the different people leading up to something, like a cup of coffee. So one day he was kind of going all the way back to the farmers who made it, leading all the way through the supply chain up to the cup of coffee that got to him. And his son actually challenged him. His son said, "Well, Dad, why don't you thank these people in person?" And so A.J. Jacobs turned this into a quest. A mission that he was going to go on. And the treasure was not necessarily a treasure of gold that you were discovering, but it was the treasure of building meaningful relationships, of the honor of being able to thank people in person, of getting more closely connected to all those people who contribute to what you consider to be a blessing or benefit in your life. So he's experimenting with gratitude. And he turns this into a massive quest where he travels to different places that, like the farmers who are growing the coffee beans and the distributors all the way through, and I forget the total number, but he actually meets with the people, and then he thanks them for what they do and thanks them for their work. He honors the nobility of their work. You know, I come from a Christian background, and we believe that this idea of work is really noble, and not just work in terms of the paid work, but the things that we do as parents and family members and citizens, that every single one of them is a call to love our neighbors, and that you love your neighbor in sometimes really simple and mundane and ordinary ways. And, love of a little neighbor called your child could be changing a diaper, or love of a neighbor could be farming and producing food for other people. So it actually really resonated with me when I read this book from A.J. Jacobs about the gratitude quest. But I would say that it was a kind of treasure hunt, and it had these principles of the treasure hunt. There's a novelty, there's a challenge to stretch yourself beyond your own boundaries. You have to do background research, and he had to discover the treasures along the way, the different people who are treasures that contribute to his cup of coffee. But in some ways, it's like a backward quest, because he's starting with what he considers to be the gift or the treasure, which was his cup of coffee, and then he goes backward in reverse and sort of follows it all the way through, and he becomes a part of the story. I would say that's a great quest to consider. If you'd like to play around with this idea, the gratitude quest is a simple one, and you may not have to turn it into a journey around the world like he did, going to all these different places, but consider two different ways that you could do a gratitude quest. One, you could pick one object that you're really grateful for, but you don't know a lot about how it came to be. I'm sitting here right now and I have a classical guitar. I play guitar, might have more guitars than I should. And I love to play the guitar every day, just a little bit. And I'm not really sure where this guitar came from or how it came to be. The strings, the wood that was used for it, where it was manufactured. This is a particular guitar. This particular one actually comes from the 1970s from another country. So I could go through all of the different things. I could devote myself to a little bit of informal research. Imagine if I did 1 week of just doing research to try to find out the different steps that led to the creation of this guitar that finally found its way into my arms. And then what I did is I tried to locate a way to contact people. Maybe I just found 5 people along the chain, and I wrote a really heartfelt letter of thanks to them. Now, that's not as meaningful and powerful as sitting down and talking to some of the people if I wanted to go on that kind of a quest, but it's a little bit of an armchair treasure hunt, I guess, and that could be a really neat thing. Another way you could do it is maybe you don't want to just go as deep in a single object, so you just pick a different object each day for 7 days, and you do 10 minutes of research and 10 minutes of writing a thank you. So maybe you really enjoy this bacon that you have every morning, or the cereal or oatmeal or whatever it is. You do 10 minutes of research or 15 minutes of research online. You find out about maybe where it came from and some of the people along the way, and you pick a few of them and you just write a thank you, or you pick one of them, just write a thank you. And you do that for 10 or 20 minutes every day for 7 days. That would be a gratitude quest. And I would suggest that by the end, you will have discovered some treasures. And you will have gone on a quest. You have challenged yourself to do research, to kind of discover the clues, to understand your way through. So it fits. So that's the gratitude quest. I'm going to give you some others, and some of them I'll make a little bit more formal. This was the first one, and some of them I won't give you all the background knowledge at the beginning, but this gets us started.